What's up, family? It's Mike Sykes.
And Jazz.
And we're here with our Life with the Sykes podcast. Me and my wife just laughing about some stuff.
It's your man's.
Yeah, right. Everybody come with these different sayings all the time. But
We just been, loving what the Lord is doing in our lives and where He's brought us. We just celebrated 11 years of marriage, and we often get asked questions like, how are y'all so young and been married so long and got married so young and y'all have all this life, y'all had 6 kids, how do you just
do it?
What is keeping y'all together,
Why are you still loving each other? And these questions come from people more and it's funny to me because the question comes from more people from that are believers than it does from people who are non-believers.
Yeah. For those that don't know, we Christ followers,
Yeah. So
love Jesus.
And that's crazy to me because if anybody should know,
it should be
how we do it. It should be our believers, And I'm not saying that there's not a lot of longevity, but right now we running neck and neck with the people who not believers for divorce rate.
Right.
So if
not more.
So I've had a lot of conversations with young people who are younger getting married because we got married young.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation too. And I asked my wife, I said, what do you like to do? Because we got married so young, we didn't even know really who we were.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the problem. It's like you getting married because you want to have sex, but you're not getting married.
It's the wrong reasons.
For the reasons.
It's fleshly.
Yeah, you're not choosing the right and choosing the right mate. It's not just getting married, but choosing
who you marry.
Yeah, it's who you marry.
Yeah, who you marry.
Because.
Yeah, because today.
Right, she could be fine. He could be fine.
Yeah.
But
beauty fades.
Yeah, beauty fades. But it's like this. Like they could be the most beautiful person in the world on the outside. But what is their
internally?
What is their integrity? What is their character? Yeah. What are their practices? What do they like to do? Do they love the Lord?
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? And a lot of the times we choose our mate based on the outer appearance.
Right.
But we get into it and we realize they're not the person that we thought they were.
Right.
Like even us, saved as we were,
right.
The first 2 years we was having problems.
We were.
Because
it's an adjustment. Like for me, I often tell people like you and your husband before y'all came together as yourself, and it could be however many years. You got 20-year-olds getting married, you got mid-20s, you got 30s, 40s, however old they are. They've been walking with themselves for so long.
Yes.
that they only know how to be selfish in a sense. So when you get with somebody, all that selfishness and self-centeredness has to leave because you're with someone now. So you have to be mindful of what they need, who they are, how they feel. You know what I'm saying? Those are things that people don't really consider. Sometimes they consider them, but consider them on a deeper level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, just not taking everything on the surface, but looking a little further into it and actually consider them
consider your significant other, your wife, or your husband, whoever it is. You sometimes is and I will say this: it's not even really considering them, because for men, we go into it wanting a certain type of wife, and I believe it's part of it is that we're scared to ask the hard questions before we get married.
Right.
Like you're a man and then you're expecting your wife to be a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
Or you're expecting
when
your wife
she's trying to pursue a career.
You're expecting your wife
what
to
are the
be
expectations?
You're expecting your wife to be this or expecting your wife to be that.
Right.
And your wife has a whole nother thought process in her mind.
For her own life.
Own life. Mm-hmm. So I think that sometimes like if we're not like us, we ask each other hard questions.
Yeah. And
even now, now
it takes a level of non-sugar, like I can't sugarcoat with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think you have to present that on almost day one, because we were straight up with each other from the jump.
Yeah.
But that's just how we are.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
But some people aren't like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you get to that point? But
Yeah.
you just have to. You have, especially if you're considering marriage.
Yes.
You have to definitely get to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
I don't care how you feel
To the
about
core
it.
of it.
This is what needs to be discussed, and let's discuss that. You know what I'm saying?
You got to get to the core of it.
Yeah.
And I think that if we start asking ourselves the hard questions and doing it like that, I don't think that people will have as much problems as they think. And then not only that, like you said, it's getting out. Man, stop being so selfish, man. So self-centered. Like,
it's not always about.
It's not
you
always
in
about
a relationship.
you.
Yeah, it's not.
You know
always
what I'm
about
saying?
You. Yeah.
Now, don't get it twisted. You got to love yourself before you can love somebody else. But that goes back to.
It's almost like you got to do it simultaneously.
Yeah, you got to. It goes back to knowing your purpose.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Knowing who you are, having a relationship. Now I'm speaking to the believers now.
Right.
Having a relationship with God, with Christ, that you feel whole with Him first before you try to come and be whole with somebody else.
Exactly.
Because if you ain't whole and you come to this other person, you bringing all your brokenness. You bringing all of that.
Yeah, you bringing your brokenness.
And it's not fair. It's not fair. Like, we had this problem, past relationships, things that we've been through in our life.
That was
when we first got together. That was a big problem because even though we were saved, we still wasn't done with. We still weren't. Those things didn't bother us anymore.
Right.
So we were still trying to like put together the pieces from our past, and we would come together
make it work. And not only that, I think as like putting what you went through or some type of things that
onto the other person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh, you just gonna do the same thing, but it's really not the case. Once you look deeper within what this relationship is.
Exactly.
So because we were both willing to look beyond that, you know what I'm saying? Because most people don't make it past that part.
Nah,
they can't look beyond that.
Not at all.
Because you acting like that, then I don't want to deal with you no more.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly,
so it's like we had that grace with each other. Like, okay.
Yeah.
You got to pass. I got to pass.
Yeah.
We got to work through this in order to make it to our future together. So it's like going through that stage of giving the grace and talking it out. You know what I'm saying? Healing that part of each other so that we can move on.
Exactly.
And that's, you know.
And understanding that the healing cannot come without God.
Right.
Like, it was like, I mean, people go talk to therapists. You know, you do what you do. But for us, it was God must be the center.
Right.
You know.
But we said this from the jump, though.
From the jump,
we knew for us, for the Sykes, we knew from the jump that there was some foundational things that weren't going to shift.
Yeah.
One was, if you say, yes, I'm willing, I want to marry you, yes, we are going to do this, then that was it. Divorce wasn't an option.
Yeah.
I don't care what we went through. We were going to work through it in order to get to the other one. The other one was being faithful. Like, we knew foundational.
Yeah.
Like, before it gets to the point of we gonna have that hard conversation, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like those things we knew. God being first, that was first above everything else. Above all, we gonna follow God.
Exactly.
This is period.
Exactly.
You know, so it was like we have foundational things that we set our relationship on.
Yeah. But I think the hardest thing for us, and I know a lot of couples deal with it, was finance problems. Most couples end up breaking apart over money or their children.
Right.
You know, and it's a hard thing to get over. Like, being broke can cause a lot of problems in your relationship.
Man,
everything makes you mad when you broke.
Yes, it does.
You know what I'm saying? You know, and everything makes you mad. And like, even now, as we're climbing out of that hole, we not rich,
right?
But we're trying to get a hold of our finances, getting a hold of all of these things. And as we're climbing and we're doing this stuff together, because we came from having nothing. I mean, sleeping on the floor,
literally
in the cold with our baby.
Yeah.
Going to people's houses, sleeping on their floor.
People don't really know that story, but it happened.
Yeah,
we'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's later on. But like, really, lights being cut off, mattress on the floor, lighting candles, no cell phone. No, you know,
the struggle was real.
The struggle was real. You hear me? But
for months, not for a little while. For months.
For months.
Yeah.
And
see, in that moment, and we had our moments, because it was a time where I left. I left him here, and I went, and nobody knew what we were going through because we didn't say nothing. But it was kind of like, okay, well, I'm just gonna take a break. I
Yeah.
needed a break. I couldn't do
Yeah.
it, you know. So
She didn't leave me,
I
y'all.
didn't leave him like, oh, well, since the
Yeah.
lights are cut off,
No,
I
she
ain't
was
coming back.
like, I
I
can't
just,
be here with the lights off no more. I'm
yeah,
going to my mama's.
it was frustrating, you know.
Yeah.
So like the situation got really bad, and that was like my break. I had to take a break, you know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
anybody, mental health. I had to take a break. I came back, you know. Came back. We got it together. We was like, we gonna get through this, and we did, you know. So, yeah.
And we, it's like this. In that time, I knew that you were going through that. You
And
know,
it's the understanding
yeah.
and seeing beyond it, because
I
we would just talk about that.
Yeah,
Like if
I
it would have been
understood.
surface, it would have been like, oh,
Yeah,
she just
she
left
just
me.
left me. You know, but I understood, especially because this goes back to knowing who you are marrying.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I do not come from the same background.
No.
So the things that I may be able to endure, or I may feel, you know, I've been here before, my wife has not. So what I had to understand was this may be too much for her.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to hold it down, which I did, which was crazy because when that happened, it put an extra fire under me to make sure that I was handling my business and getting stuff taken care of, so that way my family would be comfortable. And I had vowed to myself after that happened, I said, I will never let my family sleep on the floor again.
And that's a good point, because I think we had a discussion before about like men having the when you take on a wife, having the responsibility of leading that person, leading your family, your children, your wife, and like that pressure, like the pressure that you guys must feel having to be the head of a family, you know. So, and you were just saying like it's not a simple task. Like it invades your mental space, you know, whatever you guys deal with mentally with that. It's like,
and like you said, like I said, you've experienced it,
right?
Because with the time when I left my job, and you were the only one working,
right?
You feel that, and we had conversations like, look, I understand what you're going through right now,
right?
Just do this, hold this down,
and we're gonna get past it. But it's always looking past, because even though like in the moment we done went through so many things, you know what I'm saying? Like where it was opportunities that people probably would have left if they weren't looking.
If it weren't for God,
right, right. So it's like so many things that have happened. Is like, okay, for a season things change.
Yeah.
But ultimately seeing that the ultimate goal is that we're gonna get past it, and then continue to build. And that part is what's important when you talk about a marriage that works, you know. So it's like you always have to see beyond what your current situation is. Yeah.
And I think that if I know for us, seeing past it, understanding that it's temporary, and also not bringing my children into it,
right? Or anybody else.
Or anybody else.
Nobody else's business.
Your business is your business.
Right. I think that's the best information anybody can give someone.
Yeah. Don't.
I think
stop
somebody
telling everybody your business.
Right. Somebody asked me. They was like, this lady told them, like, what makes a marriage work? Keeping people out your business.
Yes. Yes.
Ultimately, that's the best advice you can give somebody.
Some of the biggest problems we've had in our marriage is from other people getting in our business.
Right.
And unless it's somebody you trust, because I've had conversations with people who I trust, who I look to as examples for marriage and what you should be and how you should be with your spouse. Those people who I trust with information
will give you good advice.
That I know will give me good advice,
right,
and won't go tell everybody in the world.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Those people, you know, everybody should have someone in their life that they can go to that holds them accountable.
Right.
That'll tell you if you're wrong. If you're wrong, they'll tell you if you're wrong, and if you're right, they'll tell you if you're right. But even in telling you that you're right, they will never talk down about your spouse.
Right.
They always
or your situation.
Yeah. They will always lift you guys up and pray with you, or whatever it is that you do. But just whatever it is that you do, but they will always lift you up and give you good advice. And those things, you know what I'm saying, are, are gold.
Yeah.
Like that's key. You don't want to. Yeah, you can't pay for those type of people.
Yeah.
I can count on one hand how many people I've had in my life like that I honestly trust with that type of information that I know that when the feedback I get from them won't be some craziness.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's all of it is jewels,
Yeah.
Just it takes work. Any marriage takes work. It takes willingness on both sides.
On both sides.
Like it can't be one sided. It can't be that one gives more than the other, or a 60-40 split.
Exactly.
It can't be none
Tit
of that.
for
Like
tat.
no, we can't. You can't be petty.
What was one that we used to do all the time? I change the diaper, you change the diaper.
Right.
I do this, you do that. That don't work.
It
y'all.
don't work.
Look,
it
listen.
Don't work.
If you see that the child need it, do it.
Right, just do it.
It's that simple.
If they need something, just do it. If you're available, just be there.
If something at the house need to be done, just do it.
Just do it.
If you're waiting for the other person, it's always going to be a problem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
If you there and the clothes need to be washed, wash the clothes.
Come on now. You know what I'm saying? So the moral of the story is this. Basically, there is no blueprint for marriage.
Right.
So y'all just asking us the questions. What do we do? How do we do it? There's our advice. But
right.
Everybody's marriage is different.
Right. So your spouse may be different from my spouse or whomever's spouse. They're totally different people. So what works for our family, it might need to shift for your family. It just depends on what works for you. We can glean from things that they do. Mm-hmm. We might need to modify some of that just so it'll work for us.
Yeah. So I've had friends who I asked them advice on, man, how do you do this? How do you do that? And with your kids, with your children, I've had those questions and they've given me advice, but I've had to take that information and go back and say, okay, how can I apply that to my house? How can I take the information they just gave me and apply that to my house, knowing who my wife is, knowing who my children are? That's why, the Bible talks about knowing the state of your flock.
Right.
Like for him, his children may be a certain way. His wife may be a certain way. So it works that way.
For them.
But how do I get the same outcome, but applying it to my family? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Now, there are principles that are the same.
Yeah.
God, there's principles in everything that I must love my wife. I must love my kids. Like some things that just don't change.
Right.
But when you're dealing with different personalities, there's certain ways that you have to handle it, like
in different framework. Like you have a blueprint for your life,
exactly.
So the things that you grew up and the things like you said, me and you are from totally different backgrounds. So some of the things that you grew up or that you were taught or that you learned as you were growing up, is not the same as me. So
exactly.
And it's not the same as other people.
Yeah.
So some things you're more resilient to. Mm-hmm. It may not work the same way for other people. Mm-hmm. So like you said, I had to take a break because I needed a break, you know? So it's like, from what was happening. But you dealt with being homeless. So it's like you had to deal with that. And that helped you through a situation. This ain't bad. I've been homeless, But it's like all of that plays its role. So like we said, there's no one way, two way to do this.
Exactly.
There's 15 million ways and you have to figure out what works for your unit.
For your unit, yeah. And even in that situation, it wasn't that I felt like it wasn't bad. It was that I understood from going through it the first time.
As a teenager,
but going through it the first time, when I went through it, I understood where you were. Mm-hmm. Because when I went through it the first time, I wish I had a place for me to go. Mm-hmm. For me to
get out of your situation.
Exactly. Yeah. And get out of the situation. And, later on, I did have a place. Somebody gave me a place to do that. So I understood that. But as a man, as the husband, I knew I couldn't retreat.
Right.
You got what I'm saying?
But like I said, that's from person to person. The response may have been different.
Yeah.
So it's like what worked then for us. Who knows if someone else's husband would have had the same response? It could have been that
because I could have went with you. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It could have been a different scenario all the way around. But anyway, so the answer to everyone's question is there's no black and white to what is a successful marriage, what feeds a successful marriage. It's more of the willingness of each individual to
Exactly.
look beyond circumstances and situations and to look towards the future together. So
Exactly.
I know one thing, like we said, our foundational things were that we want to grow old with each other. So it was like, what do we do to get to that point? We know that divorce is not an option.
Exactly.
So we have to communicate. We have to talk to each other. We have to make sure that we're understanding where each other is in each season, because it's different seasons.
Yes.
You know, so just that's pretty much
Yeah,
it.
and
Look, side topic. You have expectations of what you want your spouse to be. And most of the framework comes from who you've seen your whole life, which is your parents. And it's like a lot of people come into a relationship wanting what they've always seen throughout life. So it's like, but again, who you marry, if that person is not wired that way, you can't expect for them to be that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But if it's a quality that you like about them, then you can't expect them to change it 10 years from now or 5 years from now.
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, that's the person who they are. That's who they are. So it's like, you can't want your wife to be a stay-at-home mom when she's pursued a career all up until this point. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there may be a season where it's needed, and maybe that's the give on her end is that she gave her time to being a stay-at-home mom, but then at some point she wants to go back into the workforce. You have to know that was one of her aspirations from the very beginning. So it's like understanding that.
But it's in this. It's like it's a scripture I read in Proverbs. It was talking about many plans are in a man's heart, but the Lord directs their steps, or something like that. I don't know if I'm quoting it directly right, but it's in that. When we get married, and what I've noticed, even with our marriage, what I've noticed is we had a lot of plans.
We have a lot of plans.
We have a lot of plans, but we've had some plans that the Lord has straight up detoured.
Yeah.
And then we were like trying to fight to make it happen, but then we just learned to surrender and let God have his way. But in those times, what we must understand, especially those who are believers, is we must understand that you may have a plan, but God, God has the ultimate plan. So yes, when you got into the situation, you may have been a stay-at-home mom. I mean, yes, you might wanted to go after a career. Right. And now God is taking you somewhere totally different and wants you to go support your husband.
Right.
Or a husband, you may have wanted to go do this thing, and God is telling you, no, go do this, go get your wife, go do this. And it's something related closer to
your purpose,
what she's good at. And you didn't know you were good at this.
Right.
And now you, like in our situation, I was always in front of the camera, but I never got behind the camera. You were really good at pictures, but I sold my pressure washer company to provide for the camera equipment that we needed to have a business. And then find out that I'm good.
Great.
Yeah, I'm great at being behind the camera.
Right.
But sometimes God will remove, will allow you to see gifts that you didn't know you had.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you'll have those type of situations. You were in psychologist, you wanted to go do this, and God changed your whole entire thing. Go follow your husband. It's a different give and take, but
Right.
it's all just being attentive to what God is actually doing in your relationship and in your life, because ultimately he's leading you down the path, not just for you, but for your children and your children's children.
Your legacy.
You got what I'm saying? So, and if you don't see it that way, you'll always be hung up on what you want, and not allowing God to be God and allowing him to push you up and flourish, because you can also prosper in the wrong thing.
Right.
And you'll spend your life prospering in the wrong thing.
Right.
I was working,
and it'll become toil. And that's when you know it's wrong.
Yeah. I was working doing a mechanic. Now the people that I was working for were good people.
And your hands were gifted.
Yeah, my hands were gifted.
Yeah.
But
that's not where God
wanted me.
That wasn't the best for your life.
Yeah, that's not. For the moment that God was trying to help me get along, yes, I was there for a season. but it wasn't for me to be there forever.
Right.
You got what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And it's not that any opportunity is not something that you learn from, because there's things that you learn being in that place, being on that job, that you take with you in life.
Yes.
Just like for me, pursuing psychology, who knows, I may still use it every day, but but I may use the degree another way at another time in my life. Like I may not be a photographer for the rest of my life, but who knows? But I know that I take the principles that I learned during that season and I apply them in this season. So it's like, it's never not a scenario where you're not using what you've walked through.
What God has brought you through.
So God is using everything.
Yeah. And we have other things that we ain't gonna speak of right now.
Right.
That God has took it all and tied it together.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So so like I said, it's not a this is what I want. You follow this me Tarzan, you Jane type situation. You know what I'm saying? It's more of, this is what we doing. Let's flow. Let's let God be God.
Let's vibe. Let's just, whatever he wants for us, we here. We here and we down the ride.
Let's let God be God, because we had the season where I was doing the gospel, the Christian hip hop, and you were supporting me.
Again, a talent, you know?
You know what I'm saying? You were supporting me. We were doing this, and God was being God. And then we had the season where I sold my business, and I supported you, so you can go do what you desired to go do.
Right.
And then God brought it all together.
And now here we are. We both do this, and this is just,
It's just what we're doing. And God is still being God. He's still doing what he does. We're still loving each other. We're still growing. We're still learning.
Yep.
Still learning new things about ourselves that we like to do.
Right.
Even foods. We learning new foods that we like. Never knew we like. You know what I mean?
It's just a beautiful thing to go through life with someone and be more we're friends, like legit, my best friend.
Like, and my dog.
Like, we go and we just enjoy each other and enjoy life together. And I think that's the most important thing, is us just enjoying this walk together. Like, we're growing together, we're learning together, and we're sharing with the world.
But so like I said, y'all, we can go all day about this. You know what I'm saying? Marriage is something I hold near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
When I left my mother and father and I got my wife, I really meant it. And I plan on us riding this thing on out.
Ride it out.
And the wheels ain't gonna fall off. We gonna fly.
There you go.
We gonna ride it out till we fly. You know what I'm saying? In the sky with the Lord.
Spread wings.
You dig what I'm saying? We gonna ride till we fly in the sky with the Lord. But for anybody, but I hope that anybody who's listening, I hope that something resonated, something hit you. Maybe it's something that you may be going through that you're dealing with. If not, you know what I'm saying? Just hit the comments. Let us know. Reach out to us, man.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Like and subscribe.
Follow us.
Ring the bell. All that good stuff. Wherever you watching it. Follow, whatever it is you may do. Share. But let us know, man. We want to hear from the people. We want to hear from you.
If y'all have questions, state them questions, because we'll bring it back up in another video and just kind of address things as we continue this journey on this podcast.
Yes.
So nothing is off limits. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it.
Yes. And I don't know how many of y'all noticed this, but my wife is looking good.
Oh my God.
So,
here we go.
You know what I'm saying? I don't
Here
know.
we go.
I know y'all looking at me like, how did this dude pull this fine woman?
Here we go.
You know what I'm saying? Just don't,
you got the game.
The Lord love me, man. You know what I'm saying? He know what I like. But I will say, you know what I'm saying? I do. I love you, baby.
I love you.
And I'm glad to share this with y'all. I'm glad that we were able to be here and open up, and we had a dialogue and talk to y'all about what's going on.
Yeah.
But looking forward for more podcasts to be coming out.
Definitely.
We're gonna start releasing these more often, man. So keep your ear out, stay tuned, all that good stuff. Baby, you got anything?
No, just keep it 100. Keep it in the comments. Tell us what's up. Get with us.
Yeah. All right.
Stay tuned.
We out, y'all. Peace.
Deuces.